Say what you will about Dabo Sweeney and Clemson, but they don't quit. This Clemson football team, we talked about it the last few weekends. It's been a while since they've really played for much that's tangible in terms of a championship race. That Notre Dame game could have been excused as well. It was Notre Dame, and they wanted payback, and that's why they put out a good effort. This Georgia Tech team, say what you will, they're really not that good, that talented, but hey, they've been scrapping together wins and stayed in the ACC race. So give that up for them. And they came in and Clemson just, put their foot on their throat and just choked them to death on defense, especially.
Yeah, 2 weeks ago, we're sitting here talking about whether or not Clemson's gonna even win another game, right? What they've got left to play for, they just look that bad. 2 weeks later, it's a little things look a little bit different, like you said, you could chalk that Notre Dame performance up to, "Hey, we're getting up for Notre Dame. It's Notre Dame. They kicked their teeth in last year," whatever, but and no letdown this week, man, and it kinda looked like there might be to begin with. They got off to a very sluggish start in the first quarter. You rush for only 15 yards, and you're like, "Oh, no, here we go again," because we've seen this movie before, right? Well, they made a couple of moves along that offensive line, took a couple of guys out at guard and put a couple other guys in, and that running game took off. They ended up rushing for over 260 yards, threw for over or rushed for 260 yards, threw for over 200 yards. So it was an efficient offensive performance. Not a lot down the field in the downfield passing game, but it was efficient nonetheless. It was a balanced attack, and they just after that first quarter, like you said, they just kind of rolled, man. They put up 3 touchdowns in that second quarter and never looked back.
Yeah, I didn't see every play of this game, but I probably, I was checking in back and forth. I saw about half this game, and it seemed like every time and again, early in the game, I saw quite a bit where Georgia Tech was hanging in there, making some stops and getting some yardage, and it looked like okay, they're not putting points on the board, but they're hanging in there. And then after that, every play seemed to be just an obvious Clemson is dominating at the line of scrimmage, or if there was an open field one-on-one type of matchup, like runner versus tackler, it was like the Clemson player was always just the more dominant player, like physically just throwing guys around, tackling right in space on the spot. Will Shipley, obviously back in the lineup, 77 yards rushing for him, doing what he does best and getting back in the lineup. So it was just a strong, solid performance against, again, not a great team, maybe not even a good team, but a team that it's impressive to put that kind of win on them because few teams are doing that against Georgia Tech.
Yeah, that's a scrappy Georgia Tech team, like you said, scrappy. That's a good way to describe them. And Haynes King had been he's a good quarterback. He's dangerous. He's better than I thought he was going to be at this point. And I thought they rattled him early. He looked like he was hearing footsteps, most of the afternoon. He did. He had -1 passing yards in the first half. I mean, they just weren't able to do a whole lot. Their only points in the first half came when Clemson decided to fake a punt on 4th and 9 at their own 20 or 25-yard line, and I still can't wrap my head around that decision. Wasn't even close to converting. Although Clemson did convert 4 of 6 fourth downs in that game, that's just not one of them. Georgia Tech takes over and punches it in, and that was, I think that was their only points of the first half. Yeah, they scored 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter, so that was their only points of the first half. But I thought that defense was just outstanding. Again, I know they gave up over 100 rushing yards, but outside of that, they were really good. They were really good against the pass. The back end of that defense was phenomenal, and it was led by some freshmen: Avion Terrell, Khalil Barnes, Shelton Lewis. All of those guys had a pick. One of them had a pick six. 4 interceptions in that game. All 4 of them by true freshmen. I mean, it was fun to watch those guys, man, because I've thought all along, and I've said it many times, I thought Clemson killed it in the 2023 recruiting class, is particularly on the defensive side of the ball, and it's kind of playing out that way. Most of those guys have seen a lot of playing time so far this year, and you can tell they've got very high ceilings. So they got a lot of depth on that back end. So even if Nate Wiggins leaves this weekend or after this year, you're in solid shape. And I also thought it was a good one of Kate Klubnik's better performances. Um, Again, not a lot of balls thrown down the field. I don't even think they attempted a pass over 20 yards. Most of it was underneath and intermediate stuff. But he never looked panicked like he has at times in previous games. I thought he looked like he was always under control, playing within the system, something he's not always done. We've seen him trying to do too much at times this season. I thought he was playing within the system this week. And there were a couple of throws he made, man. There was one touchdown throw to, I think it was Stool, man, where it leaves his hands. You just, oh God, that's going to be picked off. But he just threads the needle right between two defenders, right to Stool, man. It was a thing of beauty. Um, I've said it a few times. His good is really good, and if he can string together those really good plays, back to back to back to back, I think Clemson's got something with this kid.
Jason Priester's here to talk some Clemson football with us. The Tigers lined it up against a good North Carolina team coming up in Death Valley on Saturday. You can catch Jason's work at allclemsontigers.com. And keep in mind, please subscribe here at the Voice of College Football and like the video. It's a simple thing to do and doesn't cost you a penny. So please do that. Support what we do here at the Voice of College Football. Check out Jason's work as well. Well, now it's a bit of a different deal against North Carolina. There's certainly an increase in talent. I don't know that if we want to get nitpicky about it, North Carolina's got Clemson talent, but it's awfully close. They've certainly recruited well. And basically, since Mac Brown's been there, he's developed this program that is pretty much showing us the same thing every year. Explosive offense. Sam Howell going into now Drake May. They're going to have a tremendous quarterback and wide receiver play, running back play. The defense should be a lot better. They've recruited well on that side of the ball, but they just can't pull it together. In spurts, they will. They'll have a game like every 5 games where it's like, wow, like they had a game against South Carolina to open this season. They had like 9 sacks and 14 tackles for loss, but then they disappeared the next week, and App State's running up and down the field against them. And then, they disappear for 4 or 5 weeks. Let Virginia beat them as a 24-point underdog. That was kind of inexplicable. And then this is a typical North Carolina game against Duke. They jump out early. They look like they may coast to a win, but no, Duke, we'll put them in the scrappy category as well, because that's who they are. They're not going to go down without a fight. Third string quarterback Grayson Loftus almost beats them. They got to go to overtime to beat Duke 47-45 at home. They give up 100-yard plus to Jordan Waters. So North Carolina, just an interesting team because they're really good, really talented, but they're by no means a great team.
Yeah, that North Carolina defense is kind of the epitome of what we mean by up and down on defensive side on the defensive side of the ball, man. They're just not very consistent. But you know what you've got in Drake May and those playmakers on the offensive side of the ball, like Tez Walker and golly, the running back Hampton, I think's his name.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've got some dynamic dudes on that offense. This is going to be a challenge for this Clemson defense, one of their biggest challenges of the year. So far, they have risen up to most every challenge, I think, and this is going to be another one. I can't wait to see this Clemson secondary matched up against this North Carolina passing attack, because it might be this secondary's biggest test of the season so far. I know they played Florida State earlier in the year, so maybe it's their second biggest test. Let's just say one of the biggest, but that secondary, they fared really well against Florida State, man. Nate Wiggins just locked down Keon Coleman. So that's the matchup I'm looking forward to the most. Let's put it that way. That Clemson secondary against those North Carolina wide receivers. Hoping maybe we get to see Nate Wiggins on Tez Walker and see how that works out, because Nate Wiggins has been really good for the most part of the season. Has he been perfect? No, but he has been really good. I think he had allowed like a 2.8 passer rating through the first half of the season. I doubt it's much higher over the second half of the season. He just doesn't get thrown on a lot of them. But also interesting to see how this Clemson front seven matches up against that North Carolina running game, because again, they gave up over 100 yards to Georgia Tech last week, and that's kind of been a strength of this Clemson defense. before this past game. They've been tough to run on. Georgia Tech was able to do it a little bit. They're going to have to be better against North Carolina or North Carolina.
It's kind of interesting in that, so we add the addition, of course, of Tez Walker, as you mentioned, and he came in from Kent State, and his story, we're not going to go through it, but a lot of people out there should know he was ineligible because of being a two-time transfer, even though the paperwork was in, and the NCAA took forever to get him back on the field, and there had to be a big fight over it. So it's good for him that he's back on the field. He's playing in front of his family and friends and all of that back home. But man, he is a playmaker. I saw him against Miami. He completely abused their secondary. He had 3 touchdowns, about 150 yards. He had 132 this past week, 162 this past weekend against Duke. So yeah, he's tough to handle. And as you mentioned, Omarion Hampton, like, this guy's not gaining 100 yards one week and then 35 the next week. Like, it's every week. 169 against Duke, 153 Georgia Tech, 112 Virginia, 197 against Miami, and he's ringing up 8-9 yards per carry in some of these games. So
Yeah,
he's a serious player.
he is a workhorse, man. He's a load to bring down. He's a kind of do it all back, man. He's going to be tough to defend. And Walker, he's played in 5 games now, right? And I think he's going over 100 yards in 3 of those games. Like you said, 162 against Duke last week. It's going to be a challenge, man. It's going to be fun to see what Wes Goodwin dials up. Clemson's been really good, especially in the past 2 games at kind of disguising coverage and giving different looks. And I thought they confused Haynes King for Georgia Tech last week. I didn't think he trusted what he was seeing a lot of the time. But Drake May's a more experienced guy. He's been around a little bit longer. He's seen a lot more. So we'll see if he fares better. He didn't, he fared better against Clemson last year than the score would indicate, right? The scoreboard shows they got blown out in the ACC championship game, but they were able to move the ball. They just kind of struggled in the red zone. I think they were like 2 of 6 in red zone opportunities in that game. So they were able to move the ball, just not able to finish. Kind of sounds familiar, right? Sounds like this Clemson team from this year. So we'll see what they can dial up this weekend and what Wes Goodwin dials up for that Tar Heels offense.
North Carolina's got a slim chance of getting to the ACC championship game, but probably not. They're 4-2. Louisville's 6-1. If Louisville beats Miami, they're in the clubhouse and in at 7-1. But if they fall to go to 6-2, then North Carolina's got a shot to tie. They didn't play. There's a big tiebreaker scenario. We're not going to go into that. So North Carolina's got a lot of work to do and got to hope that Louisville loses at Miami. But most likely it's going to be a Florida State-Louisville ACC championship game.